The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk. It is May 31st, 2023, episode number 628, Pineal Meow. That's right. My name is Gonz, director of the Age of Deceit films. Wife calls me the Cabana Boy, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Live to tape from California, bringing you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And today's emergent phenomena, insult to injury. As many of you know, Basil's been out for weeks now. We're on weeks. And he's recovering. He's doing well. We got an update from him that I'll play in here in a second here. But as you might be able to tell, my voice does not sound right today. It's got this low growl to it. And it's because we took Memorial Day off, but of course, you take time off, means your rhythms are broken, and I got a little cold, little sinus thing. I wouldn't have been able to do a show on Monday anyway because my sinuses were so clogged up. And then, move through the whole system, and it got my throat a little bit yesterday. I feel like I'm coming out of it. It's fine. It's not the Rona. I didn't get tested. It's whatever. It's just a little cold. And I'll be fine. But just to add to the whole thing with a little break, we'll come back strong. Basil will be back. No, it continues. We keep getting hit with these haymakers. May was a rough month, I will say, just in general. But we're going to keep moving. We're going to keep plowing through, bringing the content, bringing the show, and preaching the word in the process. Now, let me play the disclaimer real quick, and then we'll get an update from Basil.
It's time for a disclaimer.
Now listen up, YouTube.
That's right. And just for all the content moderators and censorship managers out there, be they robots or humans, everything you hear on this show comes directly from the mainstream corporate news media. We do not claim to be experts on healthcare, geopolitics, military strategy, corporate law, or the moral and ethical implications of any of these topics, nor do we implicitly or explicitly support or subscribe to any sources or narratives containing misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation, as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. We're good boys. All right, YouTube, we're good boys.
Let me do a quick rundown.
Oh, look, here's Basil.
Let me bring you up to speed.
Well, sorry to disappoint. It's Gons. It's not Basil. But there's a Catspiracy. UK cat killing mapped. More than 1,000 cats mutilated. What is going on? I have a theory. We'll get there. Then we have a FLIPPY update. FLIPPY arm hand is now going into the nuclear sector because, of course, nuclear energy. Yeah? Yeah. And robots are coming. You know, we've talked about the robots, and we'll do some of that too. Deepfake. I've been tracking the deepfake thing when it comes to politics, but it's becoming real, and it's becoming ever more present. And we got a few things to talk about when it comes to this Reuters article about deep faking it. America's 2024 election collides with AI boom. And then a story that broke that brings to light the question of whether there was deep fakery involved. So, yeah, we'll get there. I keep saying we'll get there. I don't know why. John Kerry also talked climate craziness. It was an homage to the scientific dictatorship. I mean, he just blatantly pretty much says it there. We'll report on that. And then, Alex Jones. All of Alex Jones's predictions comes true. He's got another one. It's about Elon Musk. It's about Elon Musk. We'll talk about that. And then a quick COVID update. Companies aren't sharing the vaccines for future research. I wonder why. Huh. Interesting. And then we have a Vice article. Scientists discovered time when our laws of physics didn't apply. It's as if they just need to read the Bible. But, you know, hey, we'll get there. And then lastly, Antarctica. It will be the origin of catastrophe. But to kick things off here, let's hear a little quick thing from Basil. He just sent this to me. I actually have not even heard it yet, so here we go.
Hey everybody, it's your best buddy Basil here with one more appendix update. As you might be able to hear, I'm feeling better. The pain is no longer sort of all-encompassing and singular point of my attention anymore. Thankfully, the pain is not so bad anymore. It's more like a general discomfort, and a lot of that discomfort is coming from the tube that I still having come out of my belly. Yeah, I still have that thing. I wanted to drop a line. Just give a quick update. There is a chance, who knows how many more appendix updates I'll get to do. So I wanted to take the opportunity to drop the Canary into line here. I think back to when this started. This all started on the 9th of May. And it is now the 31st of May, so we're in our fourth week. We are in our fourth week of this very strange and random life event. And if you're just catching up on the story, over 3 weeks ago, my appendix had burst, and because my appendix is in a strange place, my body didn't know that it happened until it was too late. I had gone septic, which is pretty nasty, and was put in the hospital. And so I was in really bad shape. They took the appendix out. There was a chance this was the scariest part. I can't remember if I told you guys this part of the story or not, but as I was going into surgery, right before they put me under, the surgeon says, yeah, this is what we're doing. Should be no problem. I've done this 1,000 times. Because of where your appendix is, there's a chance that we're going to need to take out your colon, and you'll be on a colostomy bag for 6 months.
What?
And, that's not great. I don't want to do that. And so I very politely asked the surgeon if we could try to avoid that outcome, and he agreed. He agreed to do that. And thankfully, they did not need to do that. However, because of the complications all around, including the sepsis and the everything, I was in the hospital for 12 days and 13 nights, I think. And looking back on it, it seems like a dream. It seems like it almost didn't happen. It was very strange. Of course, I was under all sorts of medications, antibiotics, very powerful antibiotics, pretty much 24/7 to try to get the sepsis under control, and of course painkillers, things like that. I was kind of just I think back, and 12 days and 13 nights, it almost feels like it didn't happen. It all kind of melts into like maybe 2 days worth of memory. It was very, very strange. And I've been back home now. I'm back home. They let me out of the hospital after some complications with an abscess that started growing. So it's, just a long list of complications. And I'm back out on the compound here, and it's very strange because I am who I am. I can't not track what's going on in the world and pay attention to every little news article that comes out. I'm still sitting here reading everything, and I can't do anything about it. Haven't been on the show for over 3 weeks now. And so it's just a very strange place. It's just now occurring to me how big of a life event this was and how close of a call it actually was. When you're in it, you're kind of just taking everything moment by moment and not really pondering the broader concepts of what's happening in life. But now that I'm home and I'm alone and I'm just sitting trying to recover, I look back and I just am realizing how serious of a life event this actually ended up being. And it makes me very grateful. It makes me grateful for the podcast, makes me grateful for Gons, makes me grateful for the producers especially. I mean, if I was in any other life situation, being in the hospital for 3 weeks or being, disposed of for 3 weeks, that could seriously mess up life. And I know that there's producers who have gone through similar things, and people go through this all the time, and they don't, have a life situation that allows them to take the time they need and to heal without any serious, career ramifications, monetary ramifications, all these sorts of things. Animals. I've got like 37 bunnies that thankfully I've gotten some help from friends in the area to take care of the animals. But anyways, sorry, it's just been really hitting me lately just how serious this was, and it makes me even more grateful for just everything. I mean, the situation that God has put me in is incredible. Here's some stats, some fun details. I've lost 16 pounds, and I lost those 16 pounds in the first 12 days. Thankfully, I stopped losing weight. But yeah, which, in other circumstances, people might be rejoicing at losing 16 pounds. Unfortunately, a lot of that 16 pounds was my big, beautiful, beefy muscles. Yes, my body has shrunk to to a lesser state. So that'll be something I'm happy to get back in the gym. Not anytime soon, but there you go. So all the Canary Cry Swole crew out there, you got some time to catch up. I still, as I mentioned, I still have this tube coming out of my belly, which is really inconvenient. It makes moving around, honestly, even sitting in a chair, I can only do it for so long. I attempted to sit at my computer to try to record a FLIPPY update or something for the show, just to kind of start getting back in. And I just cannot even sit in a chair for that long. It's extremely uncomfortable and ends up being extremely pitiful to watch. So I didn't want to put you guys through that, to put you through some sort of display of pitifulness that you would just come away with thinking, oh man, he's lost it. Poor guy. No. If I'm going to do a FLIPPY update, it must be the hard-hitting, life-changing presentation that it always has been. So thank you for your patience and grace on that. All right, we're coming up on 10 minutes, so this is me being too long-winded. But there's a little bit of an update as I watch the world continue to turn while I'm out here in the wilderness, sort of debilitated. Good news is this. I have an appointment on Monday. And during this appointment, if things go well, I will get the tube taken out of my belly. And if this is the case, that's a really good sign that I will be able to get back in the saddle after that. So the soonest would be next Wednesday, a week from now. If there's some sort of complication, we're gonna shoot for Friday. But there you go. So keep that in your prayers, folks. Monday is the day that I hopefully make some progress. I revert back to my human form instead of this abominable cyborg form, a man with a tube. And hopefully I'll be getting back to the show very soon. I'm excited to do it. It feels like I'm missing out on a big part of my life, and I really can't wait to do that, but I want to do it confidently, strongly, bigly, healthfully. I don't want to sort of come back to the show and inspire pity and sort of revulsion at a skinny, hurt, whispering wisp of a man. So I'm hoping to be back full time next week. And thank you guys for everything. And okay, there you go. There is another Basil's Appendix Apocalypse, Appendicopolis update. Think outside the appendix.
All right, let's pray for Basil.
Producers, assemble!
I'm just picturing him trying to do a FLIPPY update, but he continually falls over, and so he needs a FLIPPY arm to push him back up, you know? I don't know. All right, some funny comments in the chat here, shouting at clouds. Stay the same gender, please. Yeah, we started talking about how he's lost all this weight. I was glad to hear that that's all it was. Okay, let's get into some stuff here, because, you know, this is another one of those episodes that we really miss Basil, because he's the cat guy. And, you know, if we're talking about a catspiracy, then he's the man to have because he owns cats. But anyway, this is the mirror.co.uk. And the story goes, exclusive UK cat killing mapped as more than 1,000 animals found mutilated. Check in your area. And we've been seeing more and more reports of what are akin to cattle mutilations in the UFO community, where you have these cattle that are dead and they have these perfectly surgical slices and stuff, and there's no blood and there's no evidence of any person being there, but it can't be an animal because it's too clean and stuff like that. It's been going on for decades. But so these mysterious mutilation stories always raises an eyebrow when it comes to what might be actually going on. Hundreds of cats have been brutally mutilated across the country since September 2015, a community network has claimed. When was CERN? When did we do CERN, all the CERN watch? Wasn't that like 2013, 14, maybe 15? September 2015. It feels like, that feels like around the time, I could be wrong, maybe that was 2016. No, I think it was 2015 when the Pope came to America and he did his big UN presentation, the whole 2030 UN agenda announcement on U.S. soil in New York. And, you know, I was saying, what, does anybody notice that this is happening in America? Did anybody vote for this? This is just a thing that we're just declaring as, hey, we're all doing this UN 2030 thing. Okay. All right. Anyway, cats, kittens, foxes, guinea pigs, rabbits, and squirrels have all been killed numerous times over the past 8 years, each with incredibly detailed and similar characteristics, according to the South London Animal Investigation Network. Slain. I don't know if that acronym is great. The South London Animal Investigation Network. We are slain. Who do we need to talk to about these animals that are getting mutilated and killed? Oh, go talk to Slain. Okay, weird. Vets confirm that each of the killings were caused by humans, either by in-person assessments or by analyzing detailed photographs, the charity said. Mutilations were recorded across the entirety of England, as far south as Truro in Cornwall, and as far north as Harrogate in North Yorkshire. Slain has been recording all victims since reports started emerging in South London back in 2015. And they have this kind of interactive map here where you can zoom in and out, and it shows you, the number of cat killings. And certainly around London, you have hundreds. So pretty interesting. The article continues with a little section here. At the time, an alleged UK cat killer was known locally as the Croydon cat killer, and the Metropolitan Police launched a joint investigation with local charity South Norwood Animal Rescue and Liberty. Snarl. What's up with? Is this parody? Am I getting duped here? This is organizations called Slain and Snarl doing stuff. Cats would be found decapitated with their tails cut off. Both cuts would be incredibly clean, and there would be no blood present. Interesting. The decapitation one is of interest because we saw that with, we've seen it with cattle mutilation, but we saw it recently with penguins, in Antarctica, or actually in Australia, on the shores. There were, I think, penguins from Antarctica that were, washing up without their heads. And we speculated at the time, of course, that, they're harvesting pineal glands. And I kind of tend to stick to that thesis, or that theory at least. We'll get to some of that in a second here. Sometime later, even a few days later, the head or tail would reappear in the exact same location to where the body was found. Hello, check to see if the pineal gland is missing. Someone must do deeper investigation. But the police closed Operation Takahe in September 2018. The force claimed a lack of evidence of human involvement in a scientific report from the Royal Veterinary College as part of its reasoning for shutting down the search. Lack of evidence of human involvement. See, this is where the secular world fails. If you had a wider perspective on potential culprits to something like this, you would not I don't know, dismiss it as non-human or lacking human evidence of human involvement. If you consider things like advanced technology or maybe laser technology, but also your sort of spiritual, interdimensional entities kind of conversations, if you want to bring that up. I don't know. It just seems like, there was lack of evidence of human involvement. Therefore, hey, let's just shut it down. It's kind of weak, It's like, okay, well then what is it? A number of local charities disputed the findings and still believe the alleged killer is on the loose. Yeah, so the locals aren't buying the story here. Slane's data has been seen by the Mirror and claimed there were 386 confirmed cases since 2015, as well as 653 suspected cases. Vets had confirmed all 1,039 cases were human-related. Yeah, these are really vague descriptions. Suspected cases were confirmed by assessing photographs of victims and their injuries, whereas confirmed cases were in person. Slane's Boudica Rising told the Mirror, quote, "The Slane team has been looking into these incidents for some time now. We are at a crucial stage of the investigation, and we ask that people continue to report any animal mutilation incidents to us by phone or private message on Facebook so that of course, all the intelligence agencies can keep track of whether they're doing a good job or leaving traces. Basically, if it shows up on one of these other channels or outlets, then somebody's getting pulled into the office. The boss needs a word. Quote, "This map shows where incidents have occurred, but also, and perhaps just as important, where incidents have never happened. If you know someone who made journeys to these locations on these dates, please do get in touch with us. All information will be treated in the strictest of confidence." Meanwhile, the police had been investigating the mutilations for a full 3 years, but there was no evidence of human involvement, it said. The Met Police then said scavenging by wildlife was the likely cause of cat mutilations. Scavenging by wildlife. So wildlife just decapitates and takes away tails and then returns the heads and tails later. CCTV footage was found for 3 separate cases showing foxes carrying bodies or body parts of cats, it said, all from 2017. One of those cases involved the cat's head being found in a school playground in Catford, London. Oh, okay. Catford, London. Do we live in a simulation? What is this? So, anyway, there you go. I mean, there's a little bit more here, but you get the gist of it here. You got all these cat mutilations. It's weird. There does not seem to be any human involvement. So they're shutting things down, but the question still remains, why? So you're telling me some foxes just came around and they're like, hey, let's rip off these heads, rip off these tails, go do whatever with them, and then bring it back, because, hey, we respect Gaia, I don't know. It's a silly idea, or it sounds silly, it sounds ridiculous, of course, but this is part of the reason why we do the show the way we do, and we kind of make fun of things, but also we kind of have that like, wait a minute, is he being serious? Maybe not. And it's this whole idea of pineal gland harvesting. Why would they need that? Or just the brains in general seems to be a hot commodity. With the boom in brain computer interface, the race for brain computer interface supremacy really heating up now. You got all these companies, including Neuralink, finally getting human trial, the green light for human trial from the FDA, which, of course, who trusts the FDA anymore? But they supposedly still wield this power of like, hey, we decide when these companies can begin to stick microchips and other things in human brains. But anyway, that's taking place, and subjects are hard to come by. It's a tough market out there. What are you going to do? You have to either, if you want a human subject, you'd have to go through probably some Epstein-ish pipelines to get yourself a subject. Like, hey, this one born out of some horrible situation, and so this person gets pulled in. So I'm sure stuff like that happens, and it's probably the darker side of the Epstein stuff that no one really talks about too much. Is this whole transhumanist vision, which clearly did not die with Epstein. He's just one of the guys doing it. So and maybe they're taking each other out for some kind of race or supremacy. But the evidence for something like that, in terms of the pineal gland specifically, is very fascinating. So we've shown this article before. It's a science paper from Science Direct, the biochemistry and bioenergetics section that was published back in 1996. So it's a pretty old article. But the article headline is Piezoelectricity in the Human Pineal Gland. Piezoelectricity in the human pineal gland. Melatonin secretion by the pineal gland has been reported to be affected by exposure to electromagnetic fields, EMFs. And they mention the piezoelectric nature of the pineal gland, the tissue itself. And for those of you, who may not be familiar, of course, piezoelectric jumped out at me because I am a guitar player. I've been playing guitar for years. And there's a certain kind of guitar pickup. It's called the piezoelectric pickup. And basically what it does, it's a crystal that absorbs vibration or some kind of, hit or something, and or physical movement, or in the case of, strings, it's vibration, and it turns it into an electrical signal. So something about the pineal gland does that, where the mechanisms or something going on in the pineal gland creates some kind of electric signal, which is very interesting when you're starting to talk about brain-computer interfaces. So this is an old article about piezoelectricity in the human pineal gland, and there's more. There's more stuff recently. If you go to Frontiers in Science, the neuromodulation of the pineal gland via electrical stimulation of its sympathetic innervation pathway. And basically, it says here, the stimulation of the pineal gland via its sympathetic intervention pathway results in the production of acetylserotonin and melatonin. So it's interesting how they've figured out ways to have the pineal gland secrete melatonin and this other, it's like I forget what it's called. It's the N something. Yeah, it's the other melatonin stuff. As a way, electromagnetic fields also having an effect on it when you talk about certain mind control devices or techniques and all this 5G talk, because a lot of what becomes mainstream, even if it's sort of a conspiracy thing, the stuff that becomes mainstream in the sense that it's not just that people are talking about it, but more in the sense that mainstream media, trad media, whatever you want to call it, the big corporate media, decide to use it as, oh, look at those crazy conspiracy theorists. And 5G was a big one. It was like, oh, look at those crazy conspiracy theorists constantly talking about 5G. And it's almost like, oh, wait a minute. They are doing exactly what the 5G people are saying. They're just not doing it with 5G. They're just using other forms of some kind of electromagnetic manipulation. So, I don't know. Just some things to think about where they can basically tell the public that they are doing something without saying they're doing it, or try to even discredit those who say that they're doing it by debunking them because they're calling it something different. So I think all those things are going on, but maybe that's just me being crazy. There's another article from 2022. This one's from PubMed, so the official NIH.gov website, and this one is called A Self-Powered Wearable Brain-Machine Interface System for Ceasing Action. And it says here, a self-powered wearable brain-machine interface system with pulse detection and brain stimulation for ceasing action has been realized. The system is composed of, 1, a power supply unit that employs a piezoelectric generator, and converts the mechanical energy of human daily activities into electricity. And then there's a neck pulse biosensor that allows continuous measurements of carotid pulse. Am I saying that right? Carotid pulse by use of piezoelectric polyvinylidene fluoride film. So a lot of piezoelectricity going on. Devices, or at least it seems like it's the mechanism to connect the brain to electrical devices, computers. And so, what does this have anything to do with cats? I'm just saying, with all the crazy conspiracies about cats in general, maybe there's something unique about the cat pineal gland. And again, the market is thin. There's not a lot of subjects to start testing the advanced technology when it comes to brain-computer interfaces. So, hey, let's go on a little cat hijacking, a cat kidnapping, and we'll we'll throw out organizations that monitor the situation. We'll call it Slain and Snarl, just to make the whole thing ridiculous, and then the people will think that, hey, there's nothing to it. So anyway, beware if you're in the UK. Hold on to your cats, quite literally, or squirrels, or whatever you got going on. Maybe rabbits, guinea pigs. Pretty sure no one owns foxes, but if you do, and you're in the UK, just be careful. You might lose your animal. So, and of course, if we're bringing up the pineal gland, I can't close off a segment without talking about, of course, the biblical passages that seem to, I don't know, there's something about Jacob's ladder in Genesis 28, where, of course, he puts his head down on a stone, and then that's the night he has the dream about the ladder, where he sees the angels coming and going. He basically sees, and then God gives him a message, about his future. And it's just a very interesting thing. He put his head down on a rock. What is that? It sounds kind of, it's almost new agey on the surface. It's kind of like, well, what is this significance about the rock? Is there something piezoelectric going on where you got some access? And of course, the stone itself is used to build a pillar, as Jacob the next day placed or set up the stone as a pillar. He poured oil on top of it and called it Bethel, or called the place Bethel. Previously the city had been named Luz. And just a couple chapters later in Genesis 32, you have Jacob wrestling with God. A physical altercation, or that's how it's described. During the night, Jacob got up, this is from verse 22, and took his 2 wives and 2 maidservants and his 11 sons and crossed the ford on the Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream along with all his possessions. So Jacob was left all alone, and there was a man wrestled with him until daybreak. So it's really that kind of hero's journey kind of moment for Jacob, where his family and everything important to him, bring them to safety, and then he has this kind of confrontation moment. Although it's not slaying yourself, it's wrestling with God. That's crazy. When the man saw that he could not overpower Jacob, he struck the socket of Jacob's hip and dislocated it as they wrestled. Ouch. Then the man said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob replied, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." "What is your name?" the man asked. "Jacob," he replied. Then the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men, and you have prevailed." And Jacob requested, "Please tell me your name." But he replied, "Why do you ask my name?" Then he blessed Jacob there. So Jacob named the place Peniel, saying, "Indeed, I have seen God face to face, and yet my life was spared." The sun rose above him as he passed by Penuel, and he was limping because of his hip. Therefore, to this day, the Israelites do not eat the tendon which is at the socket of the hip, because the socket of Jacob's hip was struck near that tendon. Kind of interesting stuff. And the word pineal there, Penuel, means face of God. And so, yeah, a lot going on. A lot going on in the passages that it feels like in 2023, as we live in this crazy world, we are able to sort of maybe see some stuff that wasn't as obvious, or I'm not saying it's exclusive or anything, but just it just hits home, just as much in 2023 as it did when this thing was written. So there you go. Some interesting things going on in the world on this crazy, what is it, Wednesday? Let's see. It is Wednesday. It is Wednesday. Yeah.
It is Wednesday, my dudes. Wednesday.
Hey guys, know what date it is? It's Wednesday. It's time for the Canary Cry News Talk. Yeehaw!
Wednesday, my dudes. It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Woo. Yeah. So we took a few days off here, and we're back and sick and still going. But in the last few days, I just wanted to mention that I started messing around with, don't freak out, folks, with AI, but more generative AI in the sort of art generation area. And I know we've had producers mingle or, kind of mess with it a little bit. And we've had people send in AI generated art before. And we were questioning whether to use it or allow it or whatnot. But I'm it's because, okay, first of all, the episode art for today, that was partially generated by Firefly, Adobe Firefly, which is in beta mode right now. Basically what it is a little generator. There's a little text box. You type in what you want an image to be, and then you have all these other parameters. You got different styles you can implement. They're kind of like presets. You can make it steampunk or psychedelic or fantasy or sci-fi, and then you can choose your color tone and your lighting and your composition style, and you can decide whether it's a photo or an art piece, and you hit enter and it generates something for you. Now, okay, there's some people, especially on Twitter and stuff, I've been sharing some of the stuff I've generated, because obviously I'm going to go in there, I'm going to try to generate, biblical scenes and stuff. And if you just throw in Bible verses and try to generate the art, it doesn't work really well, because there's just, there's something about the way this thing is. The prompt, the person using it has to know how to sort of generate the images. So you have to take the text and dwindle it down to what the objects are, what the subjects are, what's going on, and then it'll give you something back that may resemble, something you're trying to get. Now, for example, you have the passages from 2 Kings 2 talking about the horses and chariots of fire. And so I plugged that into Firefly, and I was able to generate this really cool image of some horses and chariots on fire flying through the sky, which may or may not have been what Elijah saw, or Elisha saw in that moment when they were, about to be taken over. But it's just interesting. It's interesting. It allows you to sort of tell the story, the biblical account, the truthful biblical account in this new medium. And, this is not sentient AI. This is not... I'm almost starting to take the side of people who argue that artificial intelligence is a bit of, in terms of the labeling of what this is not really the proper label for what this is. Generative art might be a better term, because what you're doing, and I know this because I have done so much Photoshop over the years. I learned Photoshop when I was in high school, I think my freshman year of high school. We started my photography class. It was like the first version of Photoshop, and we started learning on the computer how to import the images and start messing with it. And so I've been using it ever since. So it's been, 30 years. And so I understand how if you want to compose something in Photoshop or create an image or even video, video's harder, so I didn't really get into a lot of that 3D stuff or anything, in that field. But in terms of images, you have to find the elements. You can go on Google, you can look for open source stuff, you can look for free stuff out there, but you need to find something, or you can create your own, which takes even longer. You can draw it out and you can trace it and you can throw it in the computer, whatever. There's different ways that you can do it. But in general, what you can do is subscribe to a place like Shutterstock or some of these open source or subscription-based art places, and you can look up whatever, and usually they have something for what you're looking for. And you can throw it in and piece something together and make your own thing out of it. And so that's what I've been doing with the art of the episodes here is I take elements, from different vector sites and stuff like that and create something that's relevant to the show. Now, what this generative AI with Firefly, what it's doing is it's doing that. It's basically going through a large database of images of, for example, with this horses and fire and all this stuff, and it's just compiling it for you. And it is pretty remarkable. It has come a long way in terms of being able to do this, but I can understand the mechanisms of what's taking place. Which is basically something you can do manually or something I had done manually over the years, which is, again, look for these elements, put it together in a composition, and then create something. So, again, to call it true artificial intelligence, I don't know. It's not really that. It's more, it's just more generative. I also did create this Genesis 6 scenery, and the prompt that I used for this was Watchers marrying human women, Genesis 6, Nephilim, Bible, Noah, flood. And it created this really strange scenery. It spits out 4 images each time, and it kind of told a story. It really does kind of tell the Genesis 6 account, where you have these 2 people on kind of a lake shore kind of thing, and they're looking at each other. One of them's clearly a woman. She's got long hair. The other one looks like Sauron or something from Lord of the Rings. Body looks normal, but the head has got this huge black thing over it, and it's got these crowns. I'm assuming that is the Watcher. And then you have these heads popping out of the ground. I'm assuming that's the offspring, the Nephilim. And then there's another photo where these 2, I think it's the same people. Maybe this time the mask is off on one of them. And they're brought together by a child, which, again, is that the Nephilim? I don't know. And then this last image here, for those of you listening, I'm trying to describe it as best as I can. These 2 large white entities, very creepy looking, and then kind of a crowd, and then a person walking away from everything into the light. And I speculated maybe that's Noah. Maybe that's Noah following the light, following God, and leaving behind the antediluvian world, which was to be destroyed. So, again, I'm not saying at all that this is how things looked, but it is interesting. It's almost like if you're a painter or if you're, just an artist, I don't know. I feel for some artists and people that are really good with painting and things like that, because it does sort of, it's not perfect yet. So I'm not going to say it replaces them at all, because it doesn't, but it does. The gap between what sort of generative art can do and like some maybe a painter or a true artist can do, the gap is closing, I would say. And again, I'm not saying that it has closed. I think there's a lot more to go. But anyway, that's just my little rant about the whole AI generative art thing. There was somebody on Twitter that said that they know someone who is a Bible believing Christian who used generative AI and turned into someone who's saying that Jesus is Satan. And again, if that's true and if there's more to it, I would love to learn more about that, because if people are just if there are people out there using generative AI and then their whole worldview shatters and all of a sudden Jesus is Satan and your whole message changes or something, I don't know that it's generative AI per se that's causing that, So got to be careful with some of that. But I am interested. If you know somebody who has gone through that, let me know. I'd like to investigate that and maybe report something on it. So anyway, there you go. There's some stuff there. And again, we have challenged the technology that comes out in its purpose and its ultimate. We always take a sort of a larger view here, with an eschatological view, where it's kind of like, okay, it's happening here, but if you look at the trajectory of something like this, what can happen? How might it apply to the end times and all that kind of stuff? But in terms of AI at this point, it's kind of just like a tool. It's a tool that you could use to create some visuals, and that's it, So, and I get it. There's chat stuff, and different ways to apply AI, and we'll see AI get applied to a lot of stuff, and I'll get to a story here in a moment about deepfakes, which is a whole nother realm with this, because I think part of art and what we do here especially is that we're sort of declaring it's art when it comes to stuff like this. We're not saying that this is like photographic evidence of a cat pineal gland or something like that. Excuse me. So, whoa, throat, not really doing well. So anyway, I think it's okay in the context of art, but it does provide some issues when you're starting to talk about politics and campaigning and stuff like that, which we will get to. But in the meantime, I do want to thank our executive producers.
Executive producers.
We operate on the value for value model, which means that there is no corporate influence, there is no communist influence, no cartel influence, nothing. We're just the canary in the coal mine, pointing to the way, the truth, and the life. And here's how this works. We basically create content. We put it out there for free. No paywalls, nothing like that. And if you get any value out of it, just consider providing value back. And you can do so with volunteering your time, contributing with your talent, or of course pitching in with your treasure. And we appreciate all forms of producership. But right now we're going to thank those who come in with a little bit extra treasure. And I don't know if it's because we had a few episodes or a few days off, but the executive producers have stepped up big time. And it's a huge blessing because it really, I mean, we appreciate all the producers in all capacities, but truly the executive producers are really doing something that I think it's almost underappreciated by other listeners and people that, check out the show and listen to the show, but have never contributed. Really, those are the people to thank because they're making sure that this thing keeps going. So first up here, we have Blake C. Blake C comes in with $333.33.
Illuminatus!
I see you, Illuminatus. Blake C. Appreciate it. He has a note here. Hey, guys. Thank you for everything you do for the Christian remnant community. Basil, love you, brother, and praying for swift healing. Gons, lifting you up during the move and praying for peace on you and your family. The Lord bless you and keep you. Thank you very much, Blake C. Appreciate it. And executive producer Blake C. Of episode 628.
Where'd you find this?
Very generous. Illuminatus. Well done, Blake C. You are, if this is not your first time, you should look at your accounting. You may be on a quick path to knighthood. Next up here, we have Richard S. Richard S., thank you very much. Comes in with a even number. And if you are new to the show, we read numbers that are interesting or, are not flat numbers, like 33333. But if you don't want your number read, just make it like a boring number, just a flat 00 number, and then we will know not to read it. But there you go. Thank you, Richard S. He has a quick note. It says praying for Basil. Yep, we're all praying for Basil. I think he's going to make it. I think we should be praying that on Monday that tube comes out, man. Get rid of that tube. Let it go. Let that tube out. But anyway, thank you, Richard S., for your executive producership.
Where'd you find this?
All right, we have another executive producer come in, another flat number, so I will not mention it, but it is Bush Protector. Thank you very much, Bush Protector. I didn't see a note from Bush Protector. It's been a few episodes since seeing him, but there you go. Thank you very much, Bush Protector, for your executive producership.
Where'd you find this?
And lastly, for the executive producers, we have Maureen M. Maureen M is on an executive streak. But she also was an executive producer for the 2 days that we didn't produce shows, which means she's on a 6-episode executive streak. She is an on-fire executive producer, Maureen M. And she's got several notes here. This one from the 26th. Romans 5:8, but God commandeth his love toward us, in that, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. God bless always. And then on the 29th, Romans 8:32, he that spared not his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? And then for today, the 31st, John 11:25, Jesus said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And then verse 26, and whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Thank you very much, our super streaking executive producer, Maureen M.
Where'd you find this?
Yeah, that's amazing. It's an incredible group of executive producers there. Thank you to all of you. Appreciate all of you. And, because we're doing the producers, we're just going to go ahead and thank the rest of the producers right now before we get into the meat of the show, because it's not a huge list, but there is a little special something in there. So don't skip it. I know people like to skip the thank yous, but it really is. It's the communal moments. It's recognizing those who help the show continue on. So first up, we have Lady Night Little Wing. Thank you, Lady Night Little Wing. Came in with a nice round number. Has a note. Hello, Gons. Loved the Little Wing you played. We are praying for Basil here at Castle Lady Night Little Wing. Blessings all. XO. Well, thank you very much, Lady Night Little Wing. Castle Lady Night Little Wing. Hope it's not a castle made of sand over there, Lady Night Little Wing. But we appreciate it. Thank you very much for your producership. Next up, we have Poco Joe 3636. Sir Dove is such a gift to the Canary Cry community to me and to the kingdom. Happy birthday, little brother. Basil and Gons, thank you for bringing us all together. I'm joining Sir Dove in praying for Yins. Poco Joe. And yeah, we have a birthday to celebrate. And, I was really bummed that Basil couldn't make it today because I was telling him that it's a special birthday day. So we needed to have Basil there for all the festivities, but he's here in spirit. And it's a birthday. Happy birthday. In fact, actually, I played the wrong birthday jingle. This is the one I wanted to play.
It's my birthday. Happy birthday to me.
We got a special little video here.
Happy birthday.
I got a shout out for somebody's birthday today. So happy birthday wishes to my beautiful brother Dove, with prayers from lots of blessings from above, and so many X's and O's with all my love, your sister in Christ, Gail. Have a great day, and hugs to your family. And thanks, Heather, for giving me the heads up.
Happy birthday, Dove!
Wishing you all the best from the Rust Beltium Meetup Cornhole Champs.
This is a birthday message for my little brother, Sir Dove. Poco Joe here, wishing Dove the happiest birthday. And, thanking him for being my brother. I'm so glad you were born this day, 36 years ago. And your gift is going to be a donation to Canary Cry News Talk for $36.36. Love ya.
Hi, Canarian family. And hi, Dove. It's me, Lady Dove. I just wanted to wish you happy birthday in a special way. For those of you that don't know Dove personally, his art here is a great representation of his character. He is dedicated, generous, wise, and humorous. He is an amazing husband, father, and friend. He's usually very far from the center of attention and never puts himself first. So I just wanted to take a moment and publicly share my gratitude for him and for this community for helping me celebrate him. Happy birthday, Dove.
Hey, happy birthday, Dove. 36. A little special thing for you. One of our most prolific producers of art here at Canary Cry News Talk. And yeah, happy birthday, man. There's a lot of people coming in with their messages there. That was Dame Gail. It was a little rough getting that audio, Dame Gail. I don't know if she had the microphone covered or something, but I tried to get it in there. The Ruspeltia Meetup Cornhole Champs. Then you had Poco Joe and then Lady Dove there, all giving their happy birthday wishes to Sir Dove. So happy birthday, Sir Dove. Appreciate you. And we'll be thanking you later again for some cool art that you sent in today. But let's continue with the producers who came in with their treasure. We got Sir LX Protocol V2, Knight of the Berean Protocol. And Sir LX Protocol, I realized, I think I missed a lot of what you have been giving in treasure, because I think it's going to the Stripe, which I don't have full access to. I only see emails come in, and I'm not 100% sure on what's going on there. So let me know what streak you're on if you are still on one. But there you go. Thank you very much, Sir Alex Protocol V2, Knight of the Berean Protocol. We also have Sir Darren, Knight of the Hungry Pandas. Thank you very much, Sir Darren, 777. I don't think he had a note. We also had Morgan E. Morgan E is on a streak. I believe it's 34 episodes. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I get confused about all of your streaks, so please correct me if I have mistaken the streak. But there you go. Morgan E coming in. Appreciate you for the producership. Next up, we have Rusty B. Oh, B. Rusty B coming in with 40 bat token. That's basic attention token. And he has just a part of his note here. I really enjoy and miss the longer form interviews. Keep those up. I pray Basil is continuing to heal nicely. And Gons, I hope the move went well. Yeah. So thank you for that. We'll definitely, we're trying to nail down. It's been tough to do any interviews the last few weeks. The whole month of May, really. The Canary Cry Radio side of things has been kind of spinning out of control a little bit because of the situation. But yeah, we do plan to do longer form interviews with people as time goes on here. A lot of returning guests, but also new people, authors, researchers, people that are of interest to the Canarians. So yeah, we'll keep doing that. And yeah, thank you for the basic attention token. It's another crypto for those people unaware. It's a cryptocurrency that was associated with the Brave browser. I think it was started by the guy who invented or co-invented JavaScript, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember. I'm not going to look it up right now. It's something like that. It's one of these guys that tried to commoditize attention, and instead of, it really is trying to do a value for value system on a crypto network. The problem was a lot of the on and off ramps with BAT token were really highly centralized locations where it's like, you know, you got to really give up who you are and all the information for them to, you know, for you to cash out any BAT. I don't know if it's still like that anymore, but in any case, thank you very much, Rusty B, for the 40 BAT token, and a lot more crypto stuff to come, because it's it's just kind of hard to avoid. It's becoming a crypto world, and you know, I've been in crypto since 2016 is when I started really looking at it in all forms, both you know, in terms of investment, but also, you know, what it might mean for biblical eschatology. I think there's a lot in common. Okay, we also have, let me just get these, people under $7.70, or under 777, which are people who are over, have a note read. People who are under are just coming in. We have Sir Moore of Knight of the Burning Chariot. I know it's over 230 episodes, Sir Moore, but I'm not sure what the streak number is. I have you down at 234 or 235. So there you go. You're on a streak.
Oh yeah, streakalicious.
You're on a big streak, Sir Moore. I just need to figure out which one exactly. We also have Sir Casey, the Shield Knight, who, again, I think Sir Casey was coming in on those days off as well, which would put Sir Casey at 304 episodes in a row. Which is
yeah, streakalicious.
Thank you, Sir Casey, the Shield Knight. Next up, we have Dame Gale, Canary Whisper, and Lady of X's and O's coming in at 266 episodes in a row.
Yeah, streakalicious. Women rule.
And then, of course, Veronica D coming in, 266 episodes.
Yeah, streakalicious. Women rule.
And these others, I haven't double checked yet if they have come in. I'm going to give it to him anyway for now. Sir Scott, Knight of Truth, thank you very much. You would be 289 episodes in a row.
Yeah, streakalicious.
A lot of folks coming in on the regular with these streaks, into the hundreds. It's really quite remarkable. And there's got to be a way to honor all you people out there on really, really long streaks. And we're working in the back room, coming up with cool ways to make that happen. And yeah, we'll see what the infrastructure looks like, but it is quite a bit of work. So, but you know, as we move forward and continue value for value in this decentralized media experiment that we're a part of, we will have to move on to different forms or different protocols to operate. So. What a weird world. Thank you for your patronage to all the producers coming in and all the executive producers who came in here for 200, or no, what is this? What episode number are we on? Oh, not 200, 628.
Shut up and take my money.
Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage.
If you'd like to learn more, go to canarycry.support.
Canarycry.support.
And it's time for a Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Really hoping to get Basil's opinion on some of this stuff, but again, he when he texted me that he wasn't going to be able to do it, it was just funny how he was so defeated. You know, his words were something to the effect of, everything is coming off as pitiful. So there you go. He'll come back strong. This is from theengineer.co.uk, and the headline here: Atkins and COVVI to collaborate on robotic hand for nuclear sector. Yeah, nuclear. Building on Atkins' patented work to deploy collaborative robots in the nuclear sector, the two firms will adapt COVVI's bionic hand, which was originally developed for people with an upper limb difference. The hand, an end effector, will be attached to a robotic arm and enable workers to perform dangerous manipulations remotely, even when a high level of dexterity is required. Okay, so the hand is an end effector. That's all your hand is. It's an end effector. And then you have a robotic arm that it attaches to. The product will be integrated into Atkins' collaborative robotic solutions in the nuclear sector, including its use in glove box operations to handle nuclear materials and waste. According to Atkins, teleoperation will reduce the presence of humans in hazardous areas and enable glove box operations to continue over longer periods of time. So we've seen a lot of the movement in this direction where what they're making it sound like is, this is going to increase the ability to, move around any kind of object, really, in any kind of environment. You just need robots to do it and control it remotely. And it really does blur the line, the reality of a virtual realm and an actual physical realm. Because in the Ender's Game kind of scenario, people can think they're operating some nuclear facility far away, but really they're just giving data to some company that's extracting all of it to create their own, whatever, some virtual environment. So, yeah, I mean, hey, we know it's nuclear. Nuclear energy is here to stay. I think it's going to go through a little revolution here with, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to turn out because of so much of the Great Reset, ESG, UN, EU, that whole apparatus, sustainable development, carrying the flag, so to speak, when it comes to these things. But I tend to think that just in general, we're going to see robot arms and hands doing all kinds of stuff everywhere. And it's not a surprise that places like Wired are publishing articles like this. Humanoid robots are coming of age. And the subheadline a few years ago, humanoid robots were clumsy and awkward. Now, several startups claim to have models almost ready to go to work in warehouses and factories. And yeah, so it's happening. The revolution is taking place. We saw it being set up for, as soon as COVID started, we said, hey, part of the big thing with this will be the robot revolution. Now you have all the excuses to have robots for all kinds of things, whether it be to clean COVID or move nuclear waste around. It's all just better with robots. So and I'm showing a little clip here of a robot that's on wheels. It doesn't even have legs. Opening a door and moving through it. I believe this is the OpenAI robot, humanoid robot. And of course, OpenAI being the ChatGPT, Sam Altman WorldCoin guy. So yeah, great. We're going to have these robots walking around with orb faces that you have to stare into to be verified a human. That's perfectly perfect. And yeah, I mean, it's almost like Sam Altman. Sorry, side note. Sam Altman went to the lizard people and was like, just presented all the things they would want, Oh, look, we're going to have this orb. It's a large eyeball that you stare into. And that's the only way that humans can verify they're human is by staring at this large orb. Well, how will they know? Well, it's going to be on a blockchain.
Blockchain.
And they're like, oh, here's $100 million, Sam Altman. Okay, so anyway, there you go. The world is being roboticized, and it comes right when probably the most prolific robot critic out there, Basil, goes down, has his own flippy robot needle encounter in his body, and the world was changed forever. And the Canary was never the same. And so there you go. That's our flippy update. I know, not as strong. I was kind of hoping Basil would step in and pull one off for us, but alas, I am left to my own devices, which when it comes to flippy, I don't know how to talk about something that we've talked about so much every episode for like 600 episodes. But there you go. Moving on.
We are in Deepfake.
Reuters.com headline: Deep faking it. America's 2024 election collides with AI boom. Yes, so all we've been hearing about is how AI is just, you can't trust AI, you can't trust deep fakes. Quote, I actually like Ron DeSantis a lot, Hillary Clinton reveals in a surprise online endorsement video. He's just the kind of guy this country needs, and I really mean that. Joe Biden finally lets his mask slip, unleashing a cruel rant at the transgender person. Quote, you'll never be a real woman, the president snarls. It's the second time we've had snarls on this episode. What is going on? Welcome to America's 2024 presidential race, where reality is up for grabs. Reuters is declaring The American 2024 presidential race is not just the presidency that is in jeopardy, that's up for grabs. It is reality. It's all of reality is up for grabs. And it kind of makes sense. You know, Trump's running. Now you got DeSantis running. We just heard that Pence is running. And we got RFK Jr. running. Biden obviously running again. Chris Christie, you know it's a party when Chris Christie runs. Yeah, it's just a weird time. And a lot of rhetoric when it comes to this stew that they are conjuring here, where reality is up for grabs in the America's 2024 presidential race. The Clinton and Biden deepfakes, realistic yet fabricated videos created by AI algorithms trained on copious online footage, are among thousands surfacing on social media, blurring fact and fiction in the polarized world of U.S. politics. Yes, it's blurring fact and fiction was not something anybody practiced until social media. People on social media started using AI algorithms. My voice is crackling for effect, but I mean it. You know, it's just ridiculous to suggest that it is merely the AI algorithms with people on social media that fact and fiction was blurred in some kind of presentation of information. Yeah. Ever heard of propaganda there? I guess Reuters hasn't because they are propaganda. You know, you can't really tell what you are. While such synthetic media has been around for several years, it's been turbocharged over the past year by a slew of new generative AI tools such as Midjourney that make it cheap and easy to create convincing deepfakes, according to Reuters interviews with about 24 specialists in fields including AI, online misinformation, and political activism. Oh, okay. I'm always interested in who these groups are that are feeding the opinions, really, of these outlets like Reuters. So let's find out more. Quote, "It's going to be very difficult for voters to distinguish the real from the fake. And you can just imagine how either Trump supporters or Biden supporters can use this technology to make the opponent look bad," said Daryl West, senior fellow at the Brookings Institution Center for Technology Innovation. Okay. I'm going to do a little rabbit trail here about the Brookings Institute after this quote. Quote, "There could be things that drop right before the election that nobody has a chance to take down." What? Somebody can publish a deep fake on the night of the elections that can sway the elections, you say? Is that even possible? Oh, now you're saying it's possible? What? Okay. So this ridiculous comment and this ridiculous idea of the setup is unbelievable, because they're saying if this happens, which it will, social media is to blame. They're already telling us who they're going to blame. It's not going to be intelligence. It's not going to be these people that are actually probably pulling the strings to make all this happen. No, it's the public. It's the same crisis, problem, reaction, solution, all that stuff. But let's look at the Brookings Institute. For those of you who have been studying the New World Order for a long time, know about the Brookings Institute and their involvement. They are a think tank. And they're one of they're over 100 years old. I think they were established in 1916, post-World War I. Yeah, that's what it says here. And it's one of the most influential think tanks in the U.S. And, you can go to the website and they go through the whole history there. And they're very proud of how they got people into places of influence to make things happen. It says here, 1952, Robert Calkins succeeded Moulton. Moulton was the guy before running it as president of the institution. He was instrumental in placing Brookings on strong financial ground by securing grants from the Rockefeller and Ford foundations. The institute expanded and was reorganized into 3 areas: economic studies, government studies, and foreign policy programs. And again, it talks about how they got people into places of influence and power, and they're so proud of it, and they're so it's a great American institution. And then if you go to I found this 2020 PDF, all links in the show notes for those of you who want to verify this information. This was just a report of the donations, the contributors list to the Brookings Institute, because you always got to follow the money. It's for fiscal year 2020, so it's a little bit late, or I guess it's a few years old. Nevertheless, the list includes, and this is straight from the Brookings.edu website, so it's not some fringe blog or something like that. This is straight from the horse's trough or something. I don't know. You have the Federal Republic of Germany giving over $2 million, and right at the top there, between $1 and $2 million of contributions to the Brookings Institute in the year of 2020 is your friend, my friend, our great friend, Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, or Bill and Melinda Foundation. I'm trying to find that jingle. I had the jingle ready, and I don't have it. Oh, here it is. Bill and Melinda Gates, the guy who said this. Wait, no, this.
Vaccines.
Well, he said that. Hold on. What's the one I'm trying to find here? No. Where's my Bill Gates right into the arm jingle? Oh, man. This is all kind of falling apart. Oh, no. I was going to have this whole Bill Gates thing, but okay. Well, there you go. There's a fail.
Vaccination.
You know what I meant. You also have the Sloan Foundation there. And, of course, you see big names here. You have Lego Foundation, Anonymous. I don't know if that's the Anonymous or just an anonymous person. You got Facebook, you got Google, you got MasterCard, you got the government of Norway, you have Taipei, you got the Walton family. And then further down, you got the Ford Foundation, obviously. There was one here that really cracked me up. Because of where it was and how much they actually contributed. I think it was, down here, $25,000 to $50,000 contribution in 2020 from BlackRock Financial Management. BlackRock, you managed $9 trillion in assets. You couldn't give a little more than $50K. Come on. But there you go. Even BlackRock pitching in. So you get the point. This is an institution that is funded by all of your sort of most evil corporations and government institutions. And, why are they shaping this conversation about elections and deep fakes and how it might affect the 2024 elections? Not just affect, but capture reality. We're going to go back to the Reuters article here. Tools that can generate deepfakes are being released with few or imperfect guardrails to prevent harmful misinformation as the tech sector engages in an AI arms race, said Asa Raskin, co-founder of the Center for Human Technology, a nonprofit that studies technology's impact on society. Former President Donald Trump, who will vie with DeSantis and others for the Republican nomination to face Biden, himself shared a doctored video of CNN anchor Anderson Cooper earlier this month on his social media platform Truth Social. Quote, "That was President Donald J. Trump ripping us a new blankety blank here on CNN's live presidential town hall," Cooper says in the footage. I didn't see this one in particular. We won't play it, but kind of funny. And I think people know that it's a deep fake. It's not a secret. Nobody's being caught off guard. And if you are, maybe you're meant to be, While major social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube have made efforts to prohibit and remove deepfakes, their effectiveness at policing such content varies. And it has here, deepfake Pence, not Trump. There have been 3 times as many video deepfakes of all kinds and 8 times as many voice deepfakes posted online this year compared to the same time period in 2022. So we are having a boom of deep fakes. Now, I'm going to just go on a little side track here. I know a lot of sidetracking happening today, but it's because they're relevant topics. There's a Trump story that broke today.
I am innocent. Innocent.
They're coming after me.
And this is CNN with the headline, exclusive, Trump captured on tape talking about classified documents he kept after leaving the White House. Okay, so there's a tape now. Federal prosecutors have obtained an audio recording of a summer 2021 meeting in which former President Donald Trump acknowledges he held on to classified Pentagon documents about a potential attack on Iran. Multiple sources told CNN, undercutting his argument that he declassified everything. The recording indicates Trump understood he retained classified material after leaving the White House, according to multiple sources familiar with the investigation. On the recording, Trump's comments suggest he would like to share the information, but he's aware of limitations on his ability post-presidency to declassify records, two of the sources said. So we got sources here, more sources, providing info on an alleged recording that the federal prosecutors have obtained of Trump admitting that he had classified documents. Now, why do I bring this up? Because all we're getting from mainstream media is, deepfakes, deepfake can fake you out. Deepfake's going to be used. It's going to be a big problem. And then we have a story about an audio recording that no one can hear. Nobody's asking if it's a deepfake. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying, how far are they going to go? How far are they willing to go? And what will we see in terms of secret recordings or video captured kind of headlines? Because these stories, these kind of hit piece types of stories, even I get that there's sort of but the whole thing is an apparatus, So I don't know. It just seems like it's not about what's happening now. It's about what happened before and then more incriminating evidence. Anytime it's like that, you have to ask why. Why are they bringing this out? Now, again, they don't mention deepfakes in here. They don't talk about deepfakes. I am connecting two dots that may or may not be connected. But I am simply suggesting, I'm just simply reflecting on the due diligence of a place like Reuters is suggesting that everyone needs to be on their toes because reality is up for grabs. And, anything can happen with deepfakes and deepfaked video and audio. And then we're seeing politically motivated stories with evidence that has to be questioned whether or not it's real. And even if it were, first of all, if it exists or not, and if it does exist, how do we know it's not deepfaked? How do we know anything anymore? I'm telling you guys, part of what will be quote unquote solved, and I say solved with quotes because it's not necessarily a great thing, but time-stamping events on a blockchain, and probably, some of the bigger blockchains, whether it turns out to be Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever, time-stamping things on the blockchain will become a practice for many to document history. And the good thing about it is that you get a permanent record of something that gets thrown up there. Even if it's wrong, that's a problem. If it's wrong information that gets thrown up there, then you're kind of stuck with the wrong information forever, unless you can make audits to it or corrections in the future, and that will all be sort of processed in the record books, so to speak. But it's an immutable ledger that records something. And so anytime there's a recording of anything of this nature, somebody will have to verify it. It would have to be sort of verified or time-stamped in a certain way. That doesn't mean a deepfake can't be verified on the blockchain in some way. But I'm just saying that's how verification moves forward, and that's why we're seeing WorldCoin. I don't think people realize how big of a thing this WorldCoin is going to be. They're going to pump this thing like crazy, and it's going to be the most dystopian thing ever. And it's just going to be, it'll be as polarizing. I'm making a prediction, maybe a red book prediction. I don't know. Maybe it's obvious. But I can see WorldCoin and the usage of it and the whole eye scanner and all that topic in general being as divisive as the vaccine topic was with the pandemic. In that, some people are like full in, and some people are like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. And if it means I can't go to certain sports games because I'm not willing to look into the eyeball, so be it, man. So be it. I'll watch from my couch, you know? So it'll be interesting how that all works out. But anyway, I bring up this story about the tape, the tape. Again, first of all, who's recording on tape now? I mean, they're calling it tape, but do we have cassette tapes? Is that what we have? Do we have the reel-to-reel of Trump saying this? Okay, anyway. So according to Deep Media, a company working on tools to detect synthetic media, and it just goes into more numbers, 500,000 videos and voice deepfakes will be shared on social media sites globally in 2023. Deep Media estimates cloning a voice used to cost $10,000 in server and AI training costs up until late last year, but now startups offer it for a few dollars, it says. No one is certain where the generative AI road leads or how to effectively guard against its power of mass misinformation, according to the people interviewed. Industry leader OpenAI, Sam Altman, which has changed the game in recent months. Oh, has he? Reuters, really? Sam Altman changed the game? With its release of ChatGPT and the updated model GPT-4 is itself grappling with the issue. CEO Sam Altman told Congress this month that election integrity was a, quote, significant area of concern and urged rapid regulation of the sector. Unlike some smaller startups, OpenAI has taken steps to restrict use of its products in politics, according to a Reuters analysis of the terms of use of half a dozen leading companies offering generative AI services. The guardrails have gaps, though. And what they mean by this is, and let me just explain what they mean. So what I was mentioning earlier with, for example, Firefly. If I go into Firefly, which is, again, the Adobe AI art generator, if I go into Firefly and say, Joe Biden, as a cyborg robot, you know, walking in a dungeon with stacks of boxes of pizza or something like that, it will omit Joe Biden because that will be part of the phrases that they won't allow. So they'll do everything else, like the art will generate everything else, but it won't be Joe Biden. Now, there are gaps, as they say. The Gab AI. Now, if you go to Gab, I know there are some users of Gab out there. Gab.com, you get an account, and they have their whole chat system, and they have something called Gabby, which is also an art generator. And what you do is you go into the chat of Gab, and you message Gabby, which is an AI bot, and you say, hey, create this, and it'll generate something. And they don't have restrictions, at least not that I've seen so far. Let me see if I can show. See if I can show this one. So, for example, if I try to go into Firefly and say, you know, Stalin version of Gavin Newsom, it will not generate that. But the Gab AI, Gabby, oh yeah, baby, we got some Gavin Newsom with a Stalin stash, you know. So, those little differences in the art generator tool, again, they're making it a political issue. So very interesting. For example, back to the Reuters article here. OpenAI says it prohibits its image generator DALL-E from creating public figures. And indeed, when Reuters tried to create images of Trump and Biden, the request was blocked. Yada yada yada. I just talked about that. So, yeah, this is how you can somewhat control the public deep fake. Not really industry. It's really just a practice. At least the big platforms like Midjourney. And Midjourney here wants to cooperate on an industry solution to enable traceability of AI-generated images with a digital equivalent of watermarking, and would consider blocking images of political candidates, Holes added. So, again, trying to stay out of politics to use it, but that also, if you block something out, and this is the thing with censorship and power dynamics in the world, if you prohibit the use of something, like, for example, political figures in some kind of AI generation tool, then the power resides in those who can use maybe political figures as part of their imagery or part of their deep fakes. And who might those people be? Is it going to be Gab users, or maybe it's going to be, and if it is, then they can say, look at those white supremacist, Christian nationalist terrorists and their use of AI. Look how they're not following the rules. They're making posters of Biden in a dark robe at a ritual, which I also was able to generate with the Gab thing. I don't know if I can pull it up right now, but it's the Gab the Gabby generator was fun. I was able to, again, I've been messing around with these art generators for about a week here, so I've been kind of itching to talk about it a little bit, and all these stories are popping up about it in general, so it seems to work out. Even as the industry wrestles with how to prevent misuse, some political players are themselves seeking to harness the power of generative AI to soup up campaigns. And of course, it talks about the nightmare Joe Biden thing from the GOP. It says here, John Smith, Republican chair for Michigan's 5th Congressional District, is holding several educational meetings so his allies can learn to use AI for social media and ad generation. Quote, "It helps us play against the big cats," he said. Well, don't worry, if you're in the UK, you'll be beheaded, so there won't be a lot of big cats. Quote, "I see the biggest upswing in the local races. Someone who is 65 years old, a farmer and country commissioner, he could easily be primed by a younger cat using the technology." What is up with all these cats? Reference today. I did not plan this. These things just always happen on the show. I don't get it. But okay, there you go. You have this guy John Smith talking about wanting to use AI and educating his constituency, really, and his allies to use AI for campaigning for political purposes. And that really does bring us into a techno-conservative era, which I mentioned and I talked about over, 5 or 6 years ago. Maybe a little less, actually, the techno-conservative thing, where you have the rise of the technocracy, the scientific dictatorship. But in response, it's not so much that everyone goes Luddite, because we're still sort of, attached to using these devices and phones and everything else. It's sort of become almost daily life. You can't really do much without it. And I'm not saying that you can't. I'm saying that, in terms of different things, school, work, there's a lot of things that are tied in with that system now, which for better or worse, it just is what it is. So, okay, hold on here. Let me see what else I wanted to touch on this article. No, there's nothing else on that Reuters article. But again, it's just to point out that there's been a lot of articles being brought out talking about how deep fakes are going to mess with politics. It's going to mess with the election. And it seems to be coming from somewhere. Maybe a think tank, one of America's oldest think tanks, funded by all of your usual suspects, and they're the ones pushing this narrative that something's going to happen. Oh, by the way, Brookings Institute, I forgot to mention this earlier. They gave NASA advice about extraterrestrial life back in 2014, about 10 years ago. And the Brookings, they published a study, proposed studies on the implications of peaceful space activities for human affairs. This is something they, 186-page document they published. And in it, they said this: the knowledge that life existed in other parts of the universe might lead to a greater unity of men on Earth, based on the oneness of man or on the age-old assumption that any stranger is threatening. Much would depend on what, if any, was communicated between man and the other beings, since after the discovery there will be years of silence because even the closest stars are several light years away. An exchange of radio communication would take twice the number of light years separating our sun from theirs. The fact that such beings existed might become simply one of the facts of life, but probably not one calling for action. Whether Earthmen would be inspired to all-out space efforts by such a discovery is a moot question. Anthropological files contain many examples of societies, sure of their place in the universe, which have disintegrated when they have had to associate with previously unfamiliar societies espousing different ideas and different life ways. Others that survived each such an experience usually did so by paying the price of changes and values and attitudes and behaviors. What are they talking about? Interesting. Since intelligent life might be discovered at any time via the radio telescope research presently underway, the consequences of such a discovery are presently unpredictable because of our limited knowledge or behavior under even an approximation of such dramatic circumstances. So there you go. That's the Brookings Institute 10 years ago giving NASA advice on what to do when they discover aliens. The same people helping Reuters tell the warning that, hey, be afraid. Deepfakes might be used for elections. So I don't know. It's all just crazy talk until it's not. All right, let's move on here. What do we got? We got John Kerry. Mr. Kerry, come on down. What you got for us? You got a little climate change action.
Climate change. Climate change. Climate change. Mass extinction. Climate change. Climate change.
Climate change. Speaking of Bill Gates there, John Kerry, Mr. Skull and Bones, Yale University, 322. John Kerry, climate crazies are coming for your burgers and 4th of July. This is Fox News. That's why the headline is like that. It's an opinion piece. In the coming weeks, Americans will celebrate Flag Day and the 4th of July. We will gather with neighbors to grill hot dogs in the backyard, drape our kids' bikes with red, white, and blue bunting, kick back from the work week, and tip a hat to the founders of our great nation. I wonder, will we still celebrate our nation's holiday with these time-honored traditions 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Start with the obvious. John Kerry and climate zealots everywhere are adamantly opposed to the kind of food we eat and how it is produced. He and his Democrat colleagues are equally incensed that we might cook over gas grills. I can't even imagine their horror at charcoal fires. Surely carbon-emitting charcoal is on the kill list. Next is the cost of feeding the neighborhood. He goes into some statistics here. Let me get to the Kerry clip because John Kerry was speaking at an event here. And here's the 1 and 37-second clip, which I think more so than just the food aspect of this, because certainly, yeah, the food element and wanting to sort of take out the whole agricultural system, that's one thing. But it's on this other context of a scientific dictatorship. And, see if you can catch it.
Agriculture contributes about 33% of all the emissions of the world, depending a little bit on how you count it, but it's anywhere from 26 to 33. And we can't get to net zero. We don't get this job done unless agriculture is front and center as part of the solution. But with a growing population on the planet, we just crossed the threshold of 8 billion fellow citizens around the world. We just crossed that in this last year. Emissions from the food system alone are projected to cause another 0.5 degree of warming by mid-century on the current course that we are today. A 2-degree future could result in an additional 600 million people not getting enough to eat. And you just can't continue to both warm the planet while also expecting to feed it. Doesn't work. So we have to reduce emissions from the food system to keep the 1.5 degrees alive. Why do we have to keep 1.5 degrees alive? Because scientists, as a basis of physics and mathematics, not ideology and politics or party labels or anything else, as a matter of physics and mathematics and some biology and chemistry have told us these are the consequences. And we already see it happening. And almost everything they've predicted for 30 plus years now is coming true, but the problem is it's coming true faster and bigger than was in fact predicted.
Science is truth.
Now, he just basically outlined a scenario here where we need to control the temperature and do all this stuff in food. We got to cut down on the food. Why? Because science. They were right about the predictions. In fact, they're so right that it's becoming more right faster. This is ridiculous because I don't know if you recall these articles here, but from the New York Post from a couple years ago, 50 years of predictions that the climate apocalypse is nigh, and it goes through a bunch of headlines that were, basically cast out there. Basically, calamity in a few years if we don't do something. It's the same shtick as years and years and years of propaganda. It really is sort of the low-hanging fruit propaganda for a lot of these politicians, it seems. But yeah, John Kerry saying that that they're even more right. I don't know what he's talking about, but there you go. And this whole idea of because the science told us, which we have talked about on the show, how, yes, science can help us understand a lot of things. But when you're talking about climate and sort of the climate outcomes and things of that nature, you're talking about computer simulation models, which are very dependent on what kind of data is input into the system. And then you have all kinds of infinite parameters and things that are malleable that can be changed, affected in the simulation that can completely throw it off. So I don't know. It's this ridiculous backwards thing that we've seen. And it's all because of this scientific dictatorship. There's a quote from Aldous Huxley, the author of Brave New World. He says, "The older dictators fell because they could never supply their subjects with enough bread, enough circuses, enough miracles and mysteries. Under a scientific dictatorship, education will really work, with the result that most men and women will grow up to love their servitude and will never dream of revolution. There seems to be no good reason why a thoroughly scientific dictatorship should ever be overthrown." Those are very interesting words coming from Aldous Huxley. And I think this sentiment of, hey, if you have a scientific dictatorship, you're basically able to provide all the things you need for a compliant society, a compliant people. And you give them food, you give them circuses, you got your TVs, your shows, all the stuff. You got enough miracles. That's really interesting. Miracles and mysteries, because those are things that keep people on the hunt, chasing that carrot, So, and it's all under this pretense of a scientific dictatorship. It's all in the math. It's all in the numbers. It's all there. It's all in the data. Can't lie. Can't change it.
Data.
And this is the culture of the scientific dictatorship, which makes it a dictatorship. It's in the numbers. As shall be. It becomes sacred. So, yeah. Very interesting. Where we have John Kerry, the Skull and Bones. Again, really saying the quiet part out loud, so to speak, in that he's basically saying, like, yeah, food production, we really need the cooperation of the food producers. As in, stop producing food. Because, look, the only way to save the environment is for everybody to be on government subsidized goo, insect goo. So, yeah. Before I move on here, there was a point that I wanted to make about the last story. I apologize for doing this because I always tend to do this when I do solo shows where I just can, so I will go back and make a point about a story we already talked about. It was about the deepfake thing, the whole rant we already had. And I wrote this down because it sort of summarizes my thought here. So once the government is able to determine what is official and not official when it comes to media content for public discourse, you can deploy something like a deepfake of anything, even an alien encounter. Joe Biden meets with a gray alien the first time we publicly see a blah, blah, blah. If it gets pumped through the official channels, then you can really deceive people. So it's this controlling of the official messaging of any politician in this time of the rise of deepfakes. So anyway, that was just an extra little side note that I wanted to make that I forgot to make earlier, which brings us to, I guess, just more craziness. I mean, things are crazy. It's an Elon Musk thing.
You are already sort of a cybernetic symbiote. Neural nets are taking over from regular programming. So you are connected.
They've been creating animal-human hybrids for decades.
Alex Jones was on, well, I think he was on his own show here. I think he's interviewing somebody or somebody's interviewing him. He had some interesting things to say. I clipped some of it out, but really the punchline is at the very end here. It's a 45-second clip. He rants about some stuff that you may or may not agree with, but then at the end he drops the bomb.
That this is reality whether you want to face it or not, and that the reason everything Alex Jones said 25 years ago is now mainstream news is I read stuff the globalists wrote in the 50s that they got in place by the 70s. Mm-hmm. And then I read stuff they wrote in the 80s that they had in place by the 2000s. And then the stuff they had in place in the Rio de Janeiro event in 1992, they got by 2020. And by 2020, now they have 2030. Because you asked the question, nobody really ever asked me that. That was a great question. Beware of the conspiracies that aren't real. Beware of the ones that the system pushes and promotes to make us look like idiots. Like, not every time somebody's sitting there in thought doing this is an Illuminati symbol. Right. I mean, that's a natural thing people do. Elon Musk may be the Antichrist.
Boom. Okay. Elon Musk might be the Antichrist. There you have it. Not a unfamiliar take. You know, I made the mysterious lineage of Elon Musk video. Boy, what year was it? 2017, maybe 2018. And it was one of the best performing videos on the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. Had a few million views, I think. I think it was a couple million views. And basically it was a letter from somebody who said they were a believer. They claimed that they had, I think, babysat Elon at a young age or something like that. And she was convinced that they were setting up Elon Musk to be some kind of antichrist figure. And certainly can't argue that he's been playing his part quite well in recent times here. The Twitter takeover, the X thing, the dressed up in the devil outfit there and mocking everything, the upside down cross and the whole deal. So, yeah, it's not really out of the realm of possibility when it comes to manufactured antichrists. And Jesus talked about how there's going to be many false Christs, many false prophets, and I tend to think that they come in different forms. You know, in terms of a false prophet is a false prophet because, you know, not because he thinks he's a false prophet, but because some people in a smoky room in the back, maybe human, maybe not, dictated this individual to play this role of a savior figure, be the face of a large part of the infrastructure for the world and how the economies move and everything else. And then you have these supposed billionaires that actually, you know, move the world when really it's these people in the smoky back rooms. So, in that sense, in the manufactured sense, I wouldn't say it's out of the question. Hello, children. I have my children here. Please don't push any buttons that will shut off the show. Thank you very much. What's up, buddy? Yeah. Okay. We're in our pajamas and we got food all over us or something. Yep. Oh yeah. Fantastic. Gotta love little ones. Okay. Let's continue on with the show here. We got a couple more things to tackle. Please, no drums. No drums.
It's Corona time. COVID-19. 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 Coronavirus.
Vaccine. I am vaccine. Vaccine, number one way.
He's still trying to play the drums. Okay. All right. We have something here, and it's been a while since we've done a COVID update that I felt like was worthwhile. There's been a lot of stories, obviously, but there hasn't been anything in recent memory where it was like, oh, we really got to talk about it. But this one caught my attention. It's from science.org. And the headline here, companies won't share COVID-19 shots, stalling future vaccine research. Developing more broadly protective products requires comparisons with existing shots that Pfizer and Moderna won't allow. The U.S. government has tens of millions of unused doses of messenger RNA COVID-19 vaccines, regularly trashing shots as they pass their expiration dates. It's a dismal reflection on recent vaccine uptake, but it's also a serious roadblock for scientists testing and developing vaccines that could protect against future variants of SARS-CoV-2 and the next pandemic. Developers need existing vaccines as a benchmark to compare with new candidates, but government contracts with the vaccine makers and the companies' own policies prohibit the use of the vaccines for research purposes. Yeah. Where have you been there, people? You know, these mainstream outlets like science.org. You know, that was one of the big things people talked about at the very beginning of the vaccine conversation is, hey, they're kind of immune to anything. They can do whatever, and it doesn't matter. They're protected. Quote, at this stage of the game, with millions of vaccines on the verge of being thrown away, this seems crazy, says Nicole Lurie, U.S. Director of the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, CEPI, C-E-P-I. The situation is so dire that one startup has created mimics of the mRNA vaccine in use to help researchers improve their formulations. Created a market of synthetic, of fake versions of vaccines. So, I mean, that's kind of smart. It's like, oh, government won't allow you to use the real vaccine for research. Hey, I'll make one that's kind of like it. Here, you can use the one that's kind of like it. Make some money. Good money making opportunity. Most researchers working on next generation vaccines hope to create products that stimulate broader immunity to protect people from all SARS-CoV-viruses, a group that includes variants of SARS-CoV-2, blah, 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 blah. As part of the development process, researchers want to compare their candidates in animal models to the proven Moderna and Pfizer mRNA vaccines. They want to see how immune responses to the candidates stack up to the responses generated by current shots. They also want to give animals the existing and experimental vaccines and challenge them with different SARS-CoV-2 variants. Ooh. Okay, well, I mean, they're laying out what they would like to do. CEPI, which aims to speed the development of vaccines, has invested $230 million in 13 such vaccine candidates. The National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, NIAID, has committed nearly $60 million to 7 other academics teams working on what's called pan-coronavirus vaccine development, which has similar goals. 4 groups receiving support from either CEPI or NIAID told Science that long-existing difficulties obtaining comparator vaccines has slowed their progress. Quote, the acquisition of those direct competitors has been very difficult and challenging, says In Kyu Yoon, a CEPI director. Neither NIAID nor the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, BARDA, which is a partner of DARPA, which purchased and distributes the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, responded to Science's questions. So, yeah, you have a situation here where without the funding, I mean, even the funding itself is pretty suspect, you know, of what's happening here. And apologize, there's people walking in and out, doors being left open. Your usual stuff going on at the old office here. I'm not fully moved into the new house in terms of my office. We're moved in as a family, but not office. So that is the reason why it is still not ready to go fully. But okay, there was another part here. The companies can make vaccines available, but Pfizer and Moderna would not discuss the issue with Science, although Pfizer did confirm that its vaccine is not for sale in any private market. Quote, we are not currently providing it directly to other research organizations, with the exception of certain government-funded research organizations outside of our own targeted clinical development program, the company stated. So they're really controlling the market. It's like they become the kingmakers. Who gets to use the valuable vaccines for research? And it kind of just shows the whole scam of it all, really. In another compromise, Helix Biotech. Interesting. Helix Biotech has helped frustrated pan-coronavirus researchers by creating generic versions of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines using publicly available formulas. Helix's clients include NIAID, which provides the comparators to researchers in funds. Graham Taylor, who started Helix Biotech last year, says labs have shown that their mimics trigger similar immune responses to the real McCoy. So again, they found a market. The boxes of unused COVID-19 vaccines now sitting in freezers point to one more hurdle for pan-sarbercovirus vaccines. Krauss says, quote, who will believe they need them? Interesting quote. Who will believe they need them? Not who will need them, who will believe. It's all about belief. It's not really about the technology. Don't worry about the technology. Yeah, we're not putting weird stuff in there. Don't worry about that. It's just about, you just need to believe that it's helping you. But there you go. Pfizer, Moderna not sharing. It's kind of crazy to think in terms of a scientific dictatorship that we're at a point now where the biggest companies are so dictatory with their dictatorship that what did I just say? So dictatory with their dictatorship? Does that make any sense? Okay. Anyway, yeah, the Moderna and Pfizer are so dictatory with their dictatorship that they are not, that an organization like science.org is pleading. They have to write an article pleading them and the government to allow, the general public to research or springboard off of the breakthrough technology that they hold in their hands. And it's just so funny how it's just like, and then they're like, no, we do what we want to do with it. So again, clear examples of a scientific dictatorship. And speaking of science, science is changing, always changing. And that's part of science. It's good and bad. But this one concerns, I don't know, space, but also it's biblical.
Space. Wanna go to space?
It's gotta be biblical.
This is from Vice.com. Newly acquired Soros news outlet. Hip and cool. Vice.com. Scientists discovered time when our laws of physics didn't apply, and we exist because of it. Are people at Vice reading the Bible? Is that what's going on? No, it can't be. I'm getting my hopes up. Scientists have discovered new evidence that the universe was briefly governed by different physical laws than it is today, producing a violation to which we owe our very existence, reports a new study. Okay, wait a minute. How would they know the time, the length of time, because they say briefly governed by a different set of physical laws, but how do they know if it was briefly? If it was a violation of our current understanding, then maybe time was all different too. But anyway, the results open a window into the mysterious epoch of inflation. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. I just thought it was hilarious that we're talking about the creation of the world and the universe and science, and they call it mysterious epoch of inflation. You know, because we're suffering from inflation all over the world economically. An ultra-short period when the universe expanded exponentially fractions of a second after the Big Bang. By studying more than 1 million galaxies observed in sky surveys, researchers were able to show that the universe more often molded galactic groups in a certain cluster shape as opposed to its mirror image. This finding violates what's known as parity symmetry, an idea embedded in our current physical models that the universe is essentially symmetrical and does not prefer any shape over its reversed image. Scientists have long suspected that the so-called parity violation occurred in the early universe, in part because matter, the stuff we're all made of, somehow became far more abundant than antimatter, matter's oppositely charged counterpart. Our current physical laws suggest that matter and antimatter should have canceled each other out after the Big Bang, but clearly that didn't happen because, well, we exist, and we're made of matter, and so is a lot of other stuff, like stars, planets, and galaxies. Antimatter, by comparison, is very rare in the universe today, an unexplained outcome that is considered one of the biggest mysteries in science. Now, researchers led by Jiamin Hao, a postdoctoral fellow and cosmologist at the University of Florida, have used a supercomputer. They used a supercomputer to analyze an immense data set, that of galaxies organized into trillions of different quadruplets, or groups of 4 galaxies. Oh my goodness. Dog, yes, I'm in the middle of... Yes, what's wrong? What? Okay, well, that's... I don't... Okay. Can you go sit down, please? All right. Okay. The punchline, of course, right at the punchline. Okay, yeah, they're doing groups of 4 galaxies in close proximity that take on a tetrahedral shape. Oh, man. Really losing my voice. Yeah, it makes a tetrahedron. The results revealed a clear preference for one tetrahedron over its mirror image, offering the first evidence that parity violation in the epoch of inflation influenced the clustering of galaxies later in cosmic history. The new discovery, quote, opens a new avenue for probing new forces during the epoch of inflation with 3D large-scale structure, according to a study published on Monday in the monthly notices of the Royal Astronomical Society. Quote, what is the beginning of the universe? What are the rules under which it evolves? Why is there something rather than nothing, said Zachary Slepian, a UF astronomy professor and co-author of the study, in a statement. Quote, this work addresses those big questions. Okay. So again, the discovery of the weird clustering in galactic quadruplets is a signal that the laws of the universe may have changed in some way during the epoch of inflation. This type of event cannot be explained by the standard model of cosmology, a well-corroborated framework that explains a lot of phenomena in our universe. Though the standard model is robust, there are many potential challenges to it, including curious evidence that the laws of physics may not apply everywhere in the universe, even to this day. Later on here, previous studies have also uncovered hints of parity violation in the early universe. Okay, hold on. Trying to podcast. Here we go. Oh no. Hello. Oh my gosh. What just happened? Why did my guitar become a thing? Hello? Okay. That was weird. That's really weird. Okay, what was I doing? Yes, the detection of a parity violating signal in a large-scale structure of the universe would illuminate early universe physics and perhaps even reveal physical processes beyond the standard model. At the very end of the article here, it says, We haven't yet solved the riddle of why the universe contains something, namely matter, instead of nothing, which is how it should have turned out according to our current understanding of physics. I love that. I love that their whole model is like, based on our model, we should not exist. It's like, okay, well, maybe you got some problems with your model because we do exist. So, might want to go back to the drawing board there, cosmologists. Not saying anything bad about cosmologists. I'm just saying the logic isn't really there. But the weirdly clustered galaxies reported by Howe's team offer new clues about this strange imbalance that ultimately led to our modern reality, complete with stars, planets, and people on planets who are trying to figure this all out. And I bring your attention to that old Robert Jastrow quote that I love to go back to time and time again. In God and the Astronomers, he said this, quote, "For the scientist who has lived by his faith in the power of reason, the story ends like a bad dream. He has scaled the mountains of ignorance. He is about to conquer the highest peak. As he pulls himself over the final rock, he is greeted by a band of theologians who have been sitting there for centuries." That's really what this is. It's like, hey, great job, guys. You guys are really, you guys have figured out that something happened at the beginning. It's not like we have, and maybe that's why we exist. It's like, okay, well, the Bible talks about down in the beginning, God created, so God acted. He created heaven and earth, which I've always talked about how heaven can be space, not outer space. I'm just saying physical space as a heaven, the heavens, plural, and the earth being eretz, dirt, and so actual matter. So you have space and matter created, but only after God acts in the beginning. You have to have time first. So God in the beginning, he starts it. The time clock starts. Then you can have, because you can't have space and matter without time. Time has to be there first. So anyway, I've talked about that one a lot. I love the little intricacies there in the Word of God. Okay, so there you go. Scientists discovered time when our laws of physics didn't apply, and we exist because of it, and they're still like, there's no God. Like, hey, is it possible that somebody did something to create our universe? You know, maybe nudged some stuff around and got the whole universe going? There's no evidence for that. Well, there's no evidence for your cosmology. But anyway. All right. Let me wrap things up here before my voice completely disappears. We got a quick Antarctica update.
So a new discovery. Antarctica.
Theory in the bottom of our planet. Advanced Antarctica.
Climate crisis. Penguins.
Space.com. Speaking, there's a connection through all of these articles today. Climate change could trigger gigantic, deadly tsunamis from Antarctica. New study warns. A lot of doom and gloom coming from the mainstream here. Climate change can unleash gigantic tsunamis in the Southern Ocean by triggering underwater landslides in Antarctica, a new study warns. By drilling into sediment cores hundreds of feet beneath the seafloor in Antarctica, scientists discovered that during previous periods of global warming, 3 million and 15 million years ago, loose sediment layers formed and slipped to send massive tsunami waves racing to the shores of South America, New Zealand, and Southeast Asia. Now, the reason why I dinged there, and I have this highlighted, previous periods of global warming, is because the whole messaging of climate change is, hey, you guys need to support the policies or whatever for climate change because you're responsible. It's humans that have caused the pressure of the climate, and now it's changing, and it's going to mess us up, and we're all going to die. But then they say, the previous periods of global warming, 3 million and 15 million years ago. Okay, so really, really long time ago. Are you suggesting that 3 million years ago or 15 million years ago, we had, Carl cooking steaks, outside on his patio with a new grill. He's got a smoker on the side, throwing in some ribs and some nice pieces of cow. And it's causing global warming 3 million years ago. I mean, that's kind of what they're saying. I don't know. It's just one of those small little things. It's a real subtle thing, but why use the phrase and the terminology? I guess they'd stop using global warming, but I don't know. It just seemed weird that they're like, yeah, when we had climate change and global warming millions of years ago. It's like, wait, I thought it doesn't happen. And then we're the reason why we got to do all these policies because we are killing the world. And as climate change heats the oceans and researchers think there's a possibility these tsunamis could be unleashed once more. Their findings were published May 18th in the journal Nature Communications. Quote, submarine landslides are a major geohazard with the potential to trigger tsunamis that could lead to huge loss of life. Jenny Gales, a lecturer in hydrography and ocean exploration at the University of Plymouth in the UK, said in a statement, quote, our findings highlight how we urgently need to enhance our understanding of how global climate change might influence the stability of these regions and potentially for future tsunamis. Again, what is she talking about? Global climate change. Okay, all right. Researchers first found evidence of ancient landslides off Antarctica in 2017 in the eastern Ross Sea. Trapped underneath these landslides are layers of weak sediment crammed with fossilized sea creatures known as phytoplankton. Scientists returned to the area in 2018 and drilled deep into the seafloor to extract sediment cores, long, thin cylinders of the Earth's crust that show layer by layer the geological history of the region. By analyzing the sediment cores, the scientists learned that the layers of weak sediment formed during two periods, around 3 million years ago in the Middle Pliocene warm period, and the other roughly 15 million years ago during the Miocene climate optimum. During these epochs, the waters around Antarctica were 5.4 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than today, leading to bursts of algal blooms that, after they had died, filled the seafloor below with a rich and slippery sediment, making the region prone to landslides. They got greased up. Quote, the same layers are still present in our outer continental shelf, so it is primed for more of these slides to occur. But the big question is whether the trigger for these events is still in play, McKay said. We proposed isostatic rebound as a logical potential trigger, but it could be random failure or climate-regulated shifts in ocean currents acting to erode sediment at key locations on the continental shelf that could trigger slope failure. This is something we could use computer models to assess for in future studies. More computer models! And, why not make a buck out of it? Somebody make the movie The Ice Tsunami. The apocalyptic movie Ice Tsunami. And it'll be a story about how the largest tsunami started in Antarctica. Whether you believe it is an opening at some pole location on the south of a ball or the outer rims of a realm. Either way, the waves began. And then you can have your normal, and you can just cut to scenes from the 2012 movie where stuff's being destroyed. You can probably do it pretty low budget, or you can just throw it into AI. You can, let's see, let me do that real quick. Let's do a prompt here, live on air on Firefly. Let's see, let's do, what was I just talking about? Oh, the movie, the Ice Tsunami. Okay, so tsunami destroyed city coast. Sometimes when it's like too dystopian or like negative, they won't do it. Let me see. Tsunami destroyed city coast. Let me just try that. Simple 4 words. Tsunami destroyed city coast. Let's see if it pulls anything worthy up. Give it a second here. It's AIing. It's using its neural network. Oh, yeah, okay. There you go. Boom. For those of you watching. Got some scenes created from Firefly of impending doom, large waves crashing into cities and destroying the land. So there you go. You got your... See, this is how easy it is to come up with a little bit of imagery. And by the way, I can, just to kind of show people who are maybe curious, you can change... There's different settings here. Again, the cool tones, I can go in here to cool tones, change it into a warm tone. I can make the whole thing more, let's do cyberpunk, and then less fantasy. And then we can make it a photo. Let's try to make it photorealistic. And then we got, let's see what it generates. Something similar, hopefully. But yeah, you can do all kinds of stuff, and you can do it real quick. And that's really the power of it, I guess. But I don't know that it's super, super revolutionary. There you go. For those of you watching, another kind of a cityscape, kind of a destroyed landscape on the coast with a huge wave yonder. More waves crashing into sort of the side of a city. And yeah, very, I mean, these could be used as concept art for some kind of apocalyptic movie. So anyway, it's stuff like that. It's as easy as that. You type in some words and it gives you pictures, which again, really lowers the barrier of entry when it comes to this stuff. And I think maybe, I was kind of rambling on, shooting from the hip earlier about what it does to artists and art, the sort of impact on society when it comes to artists. But now that I'm kind of thinking about it, it will clarify the value of somebody who has actual skill. And maybe somebody's really good with AI and prompts, but that's not what I mean. I mean, somebody that can really do some true art, they will be valued more because they're almost like they possess the data that you would want some AI to pick up on and learn, to help the AI. I guess that's kind of the give and take here, is humanity's being recruited by AI. Really, that's what's happening. All of our talents, all of our gifts, all of our abilities, it's all being quantized. It's all being digitized. It's all becoming mapped in some sort of nebulous cloud of information. And as that happens, reality might break at some point. I mean, biblically speaking, Jesus talks about how he has to intervene or else all flesh would be destroyed. And I think he meant it, I think he understood that something really bad happens to the point where we need a new heaven and a new earth. I've ranted about that a lot. Now it's, we're going to mess it up so bad that everything recedes like a scroll. We need a new heaven and a new earth because we mess up the old one pretty bad. So there you go. Apologies for just the raspy voice and really not a great presentation here. But hopefully you're able to stick through it. I do have some people to thank at the end here, but before we do, we got some speak pipes.
Please leave a message after the tone.
At the tone, please record your message.
Leave a message. Beep.
Message.
Go to canarycrynewstalk.com, look for a green tab on the right side or the bottom, click on it, and it'll pop up a window that allows you to record a message of up to 90 seconds. If you have a private message for us, please let us know at the very top of the message so that we don't accidentally play it. We have a couple messages here. We have one from Jung Xian. Very short message.
Hi, Gonsu. I hope Basil will get well. Thank you.
Well, thank you, John Song. It's very... John Song, I'm going to assume that you are Asian. John Song, is that Chinese? Maybe it's Korean. But it's very Korean or Chinese or just Asian. This is, I guess, spans all Asian cultures to like come in, say a couple things and then yes, thank you, and then leave. You don't bother, you don't ramble, you just thank you. That's why I break a lot of Asian customs by rambling about crazy stuff because we're supposed to be quiet. We're supposed to just listen and quiet, and if you speak, only if you are spoken to. But no, I'm yelling about Nephilim. Thank you very much, Jiang-sun. Appreciate it. Appreciate the prayers. Appreciate the message. We also have something here from Nomen Prunte. And Nomen Prunte, it was a great message, so I spiced it up a bit for everybody.
Nomen Prunte here. I wasn't planning on doing this because somebody else already did it better, but since our best buddy and our favorite Asian provocateur have been having a rough go of it lately, I figured a little comic relief was in order. So here we go. On the 33rd day of Candlemas, my Illuminati gave to me 124 handbags, 15 cardboard boxes, 48 aubergines, 45 woolly lammies, 33 armadillos, 31 king salmon, 26 average Dutchmen, 18 cardigans, 15 Malibu Barbies, 2 gold trophies, 1/2 of a giraffe, and a world-ending Welsh corgi.
That was fantastic, Nomen Prunte. I appreciate that. The corgi at the end, really. Everything else was good, but the corgi at the end really got me, because that corgi, man. Gotta watch out. All politicians, just watch out. Watch your dogs. Watch your dog. That should be a whole. Somebody should just start somebody has to have a politics dog channel already. Just tracking the dogs of politicians and presidents and stuff. But anyway, thank you very much, Nomen Prunte. Appreciate that. And that really blurs the line between just a speak pipe message and talent, which is another way that you can contribute to the show. And again, there's some people who do AI or who have already sent in AI art, and it's been kind of hit or miss with some of that. I suppose at this point, if you have something that you prompt that you find really interesting and will contribute value to the show, go ahead and send it. Let me know what the prompt was, and we can kind of go from there, because I feel that we can really just take advantage of the technology in the sense of doing things that are good for the Great Commission, spreading of the gospel, and really not use it for anything else. When I hop on Firefly, I'm not trying to think of ways to manipulate an election or something like that. That's not on my mind. I just want to see if we can visualize some biblical events or biblical moments or supernatural things or something like that, just to help us see what the truth is in any medium or any form. If you think about it, the written word, I guess, is sort of the foundational thing, because it sparks all kinds of imagination. You can read something, 1,000 people can read the same text, and they can envision a way different situation of how that story would play out. So that's really the ultimate, but that's all, again, I mentioned earlier, everything's being quantized, everything's becoming digitized. So I think even those things, your thoughts in general, are becoming data for the lizard people. And as that happens, it's almost inevitable, the tsunami. And I think that's kind of why we're supposed to be separate from the world. So, all right. Yeah. And so we appreciate those who come in with their talent, because it helps shape the culture behind the community here. And, yeah, we're going to start it off with the audio production here.
Audio production. Productions.
Yeah. The first one here, we have something from Jonathan F.
Jonathan F.
There's a note here. Minority Hero or Fast and Furious franchise says to stop stealing white superheroes. Oh, I think I'm supposed to play something there. Hold on. Oh, okay. All right. Hello, came across this on Instagram. The piece is a contrast between 1943 versus 2023 and communist directives versus what Biden said in a speech very recently. It delineates exactly the plan being put practice with policies and ideology in the past decades.
In 1943, the following directive was issued from party headquarters to all communists in the United States. It read, when certain obstructionists become too irritating, label them after suitable build-ups as fascist or Nazi or anti-Semitic, and use the prestige of anti-fascist and tolerance organizations to discredit them. In the
building cross-community solidarity and collective action to fight hate. This strategy includes over 100 bold and unprecedented actions that government agencies are going to take to counter anti-Semitism. And that includes calls for action for Congress, state and local governments, companies, technology platforms, civil society, and faith leaders, all of them to act. Act. Silence is complicity.
There you go. Thank you very much, Jonathan F. Yeah, and certainly, no surprises there. I think I think part of the design for this 21st century generation propaganda psyop, the more and more we go along here, it's almost like they wanted to make it so obvious because they want to have that counter movement. They want to clearly know who is really easy hook, line, sinker and who might put up a fight. And then they can sort of cultivate or act accordingly. So anyway, interesting stuff. Thank you very much, Jonathan F. We got another something here, a few things actually, from Psalm 40. He has a message here. I meant to do this sooner, but I am just an expert procrastinator. I did not forget about any of you, and although I may not participate as much anymore, I never left. First, I have to tell you how thrilled I am to hear our best buddy Basil is back home. I understand he's dealing with some serious recovery, but praise the Lord, he's not institutionalized in an unfamiliar place. My heart dropped when I first heard everything. Basil really is a true hero in my eyes. Wait for the end before you judge me. For the stories I've patched together over 10 or so years, Basil had quite a sheltered upbringing in the sense that he didn't truly realize the scope and breadth of the evil in the world, and once he did find out, he didn't turn his back on God. He learned in more. He leaned in more. That is heroic, in my opinion. I've been praying that this whole appendix situation turns into yet another story we can look back on to glorify the power of the Lord. Hang on one second. Oh my gosh. Hang on. I have to take this phone call in just a moment. All right, sorry about that. Okay. Wife calling. Got to answer. Okay, where was I? I was reading this note from Psalm 40. Sorry, Psalm 40. From the stories I've patched together over the last 10 years, Basil had quite a sheltered upbringing in the sense that he didn't truly realize the scope and breadth of the evil in the world. And once he did find out, he didn't turn his back on God. He leaned in more. That is heroic, in my opinion. I've been praying that this whole appendix situation turns into yet another story we can look back on to glorify the power of the Lord. I didn't forget about you, Gons. I know moving an entire household is close to invasive surgery, but it's slightly different. Yeah, it's very different. The mental surgery is pretty similar, though, and you definitely need your mind in the right place to be able to do the captain of the ship, to be the captain of the ship as large as the USS Canary cry. So anyway, love you all, host and Canarians. May God bless you all and keep rattling those cages, some of Basil's ISOs, to hold us over.
You know, we've been watching FLIPPY, this beautiful robotic arm, do all sorts of fun things, flipping burgers, doing surgery, monitoring our Walmart experiences.
My entire torso is just numb.
Skynet is moving in quick.
Skynet is moving in quick.
Basil tetanus alert.
Basil tetanus alert. I like it. Thank you very much, Psalm 40, for those ISOs. Those are fantastic. I especially like the numb one.
My entire torso is just numb.
You know, maybe that was a sign. When was that from? I think maybe we need to nail down the date of that, where that was recorded, and look back and say, hey, maybe we had some indications about your appendix if your entire torso was numb, several months ago. So anyway, thank you very much, Psalm 40. Appreciate it. We're going to do some art.
One art, please.
And we have an old familiar face here, Dame Allie of the Skillet Nation.
One art, please. Another one from Allie now. Here it is.
As a note, simple and straightforward. Happy birthday, Dove. And she sent this beautiful pencil drawing of a dove with a party hat. Beautiful. And yeah, I don't really know much to say about it. It's a very realistic bird. It looks fantastic in Allie fashion. It's been a while. We haven't seen an Allie art in a few weeks and months. So I really, really appreciate it. The party hat is fantastic. This is perfect. I was trying to actually maybe come up with a party hat thing for Dove too, but Allie did it. She pulled it off. Thank you very much, Dame Allie of the Skillet Nation. Appreciate it. We also have Dame Ebony Blaze. Had a note here. Happy birthday week, Dove. Hope your B-Day was epic. Keep that party going at least through Wednesday, my dude. May the Lord bless you and keep you, my brother. Thank you for the amazing example you set of diligence, consistency, and courage in keeping the faith with insight, mad artistic skills, and an amazing sense of humor. We love you. And Ebony Blaze sent us a picture of it's a power line. It's got 3 doves on there, all wearing party hats. It says happy birth doves. And then I think that's Pizza Rat on the bottom. They're also wearing a party hat. And I'm wondering, is this Ebony Blaze, Dame Allie, and Dove? I don't know who they were supposed to be, but there you go. There's 3 of them. Thank you very much, Dame Ebony Blaze, for the piece of art in tandem with Dame Allie. It's good to see you guys. And of course, to top it off, we got to see the birthday boy's art.
One art, please, from Dove.
Dove has a note. Peace. For today's artwork, I did another thumbnail duo illustration. Oh, no, that's not the note. That's not the note. That's the old note. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, Dove. I was so busy working on some of the birthday stuff that I think I didn't get the proper message in there. Yeah, okay. Here we go. Peace. For this week's Bible artwork, I did an illustration for 1 Timothy 6:12. Fight the good fight of the faith. Take hold of the eternal life to which you were called when you made the good confessions before many witnesses. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for you. And yeah, you have this sheep boxer who's sort of, he's got his hands up. He's weaving. He's bumping, weaving. He's got a couple teeth missing. He's got a big black eye. He's got a bandage on his face. His gloves are, let's see, everlasting. Everlasting. That's right. Okay, there you go. Yeah, okay, I get it. And then around his waist, he's got the faith shorts on, purple, looking great, looking dangerous. And at the top there, fight the good fight. Thank you very much. Birthday boy, Sir Dove, Knight of Respeltia. Appreciate it. And yeah, hope you had a good birthday week and continued producership. Thank you very much. All right. Do we have, hold on, I'm trying to do 2 things at once here. It's always a bad idea. I think there is, oh yes, we have microfiction.
Microfiction.
Time.
Microfiction.
We have 2 of them. One of them is from Runk Smash.
Runk Smash.
Sorry. Oh. Meanwhile, on a rooftop, pair of sensors chase a red-bearded man jumping between rooftops, and the Pirate King leads the goons away. Oh, the Pirate King leads the goons away from his crew. When he knows it's finally safe, he takes a leap down to a fire escape, yelling a mighty parkour. Yeah, that parkour is really going to come in handy in the New World Order. Thank you very much, Rung Smash. And then we have one more from Stephen S. A tear rolled down his rosy cheeks. Agent Duke Street felt joy and pride with the announcement of the Navy's new drag queen spokesperson. I had to hide my identity once, but now all can give their service and life to our nation without judgment. Yes, and this is in reference to the New York Post article we covered a few episodes ago. U.S. Navy hires active duty drag queen to be face of recruitment drive. All right, yeah. It's just flaunt in our faces the trans-Maoism that has infiltrated the United States, and really at a very politically tense time. And you can even call it an awakening. It feels like there's not as many lefty, progressive, crazy types left. It feels like a lot of people share a more conservative value. At least that's what it feels like. I don't know that it's true, but in any case, the pendulum has swung, and that is it for this episode. We would also like to thank some producers who come in with their time, starting off with the Clippies.
Clippy. Clipping all those videos. Thanks.
Emsworth, Faye Liverin, Jolmes, and Laura, thank you very much for your contributions in maintaining the Clips channel. It would not be possible without the timestampers.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
Episode 627 was timestamped by Christine C. Thank you very much, Christine C. Appreciate you. And let's see what else. I forgot to do meetups.
Canary Cry Meetup.
I'm not sure if I updated the page, canarycrymeetups.com. And maybe I did. No, I haven't. The Glen Rose, Texas meetup was last weekend. I don't know if I got a report yet. If there was one, let us know. Send us something. But the next one is September 2nd, so a little bit off. But if you'd like to take that next step in finding your people, especially in the Canary Cry realm, choose a location, figure out a date and time, make a flyer, promote it. We can help you with any of those steps there, and you can lead a meetup and again meet like-minded people. It's really important, especially when that poop hits the fan. You want to have local folk that you can reach out to and connect with, because community is how we're going to get through a lot of this stuff. There you go, canarycrymeetups.com.
This is fun! See you at the meetup.
Real quick, Canary Cry Supply Drop. I forgot to mention this earlier too. Canary Cry Supply Drop is another way to support the show on a month-to-month basis. $33.33 a month will get you in, and you will receive a supply drop every quarter, which will have all kinds of cool stuff in there. And starting next quarter, I think we're going to have Age of Deceit 1 as part of the packaging. I think we're extending the close date of signing up for the Q3 supply drop. I think that's what it is. I'm not all up to speed on all the numbers, but I believe the Q3 supply drop, the close of it is extending because we want to make sure that everyone is in, and plus Basil's been gone, so things got a little messed up, but we want as many people to have that Age of Deceit hard copy DVD as possible. So if you haven't signed up yet, consider it, please. It really does help us out, and if when we ebb and flow with producerships from episode to episode, it's the supply droppers and the T-shirt council, people that are in month to month, that really help us keep going. So, canarycrysupply.com. Real quick, also, you can, T-shirt council, I mentioned that. If you want an article to submit, you can go to canarycry.report, and it'll pull up little Google Sheets there you can fill out, and you can drop us some links that we can take a look at. We may or may not share it. We've received, various types of articles, older ones, newer ones. And sometimes, it feels like we can maybe bring it to the show. It just really just depends on what's happening that day and everything else. So don't feel discouraged. Keep sending those articles in. We do see them and we do consider them. Also, canarycry.art. If you have any art to submit, you can go there, and just another way to help produce a show. And of course, canarycrynewstalk.com/roundtable. You can see the knights and dames of the Canary Cry Roundtable. Those are people who support the show over time, a total amount of over $1,000. And once you do that, you become a knight or a dame, and you are forever part of the Canarium. And we haven't forgotten about you, knights and dames. We have some cool stuff potentially in the works for all that stuff too. So there you go. If you'd like to help spread the word in other ways, you please do that. One way you can do that is by leaving a rating and a review on Apple iTunes or iTunes. I keep saying iTunes. It's podcasts now. We got one from N. Zavis on the 15th of May. Got hairy legs. The foremost experts on the most important topics. Maybe I read this already. Penguins, giants, robot arms, baby Fauci, hairy legs, orbs, Chris Celiza, and the number 33. Yes, very accurate. Thank you for the review. Xavis. But yeah, it's a great way to do it. We're at 768 ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. We'd like to hit that 1,000 mark. Let's just do it. Leave a rating and review. That's another way to do it. If you would be so obliged to do so. You can also, my throat is so itchy now. I'm not going to talk for like 2 days. Maybe I won't talk again until the show on Friday. Yes, please share the show with friends and family. We call it rattling cages. If you don't know what to do, you just walk right up to your friend or family, grab them by the cage, and then you shake them.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted. I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
Ask Noah. All right. Where are we at? Oh, we're done with May. We are exiting the month of trouble. And we'll be back Friday. And hopefully my throat feels better, because this was rough. This was a tough one to get through. Maybe it was a good thing, because it prevented me from going on longer rants than I already did. Thank you, everybody, for paying attention. If you're still here, you're amazing. Love you guys. God bless. And remember to think outside the cage.
On the way.
I'll keep you warm and safe, and my people too.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy.
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
Don't even get me started on bidets, man. Bidets, man. Bidets, man. I'm telling you, you were living the life, man. Bidets, man.
Circle back, but I'll have to circle back. Circle back, but I'll have to circle back. Circle back, but I'll have to circle back. I'm happy to circle back. I'll have to just circle back with you. We can circle back on that one. Circle back with you. It's an interesting question, but we'll circle back.
Wives in the cosmos, children in the space lane.
I'm an adult in a spaceship.
Supersonic space lane screamed to life and the vehicle swooped upward. On board, the passengers experienced a 3 Gs of force from the burst of extreme acceleration and watched the blue sky fade into space.
In the back have been cleared to unstrap.
Oh, yeah.
In the back have been cleared to unstrap.
Yes. Do it, Richard. Do it, Jeff.
Toilets!
Do it for humanity.
To all you kids down there, I was once a child with a dream. Now I'm an adult in a spaceship.
He can accomplish it. You can too. Big windows. Cool. Rocket ship. Cool. Space plane. Cool.
Nukes.
Cool.
Blowing stuff up.
Cool. Space plane. Astronaut. Rocket ship.
Previous anchor.
We're all gonna die. Is a human. Just look at him. Go to the bathroom in bags.
Toilets!
Go to the bathroom in the cosmos.
Toilets!
You changed everything. Wives in space. Children in the cosmos. With your best friend brother. Wives in the cosmos. Children in the space lane.
We are headed to space.
Armageddon's on the way.
Goodbye, everybody, and that's the end. And everyone says, "Oh, that was fun." Bye.
Fun fact, I believe it was
Bye.
another fun fact.
Bye.
Fun fact.
Bye.
Another fun fact.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
This is not about freedom or personal choice. Armageddon's on the way.
Bye. I'm out of here. Bye.
Canary cried, I suppose.